Shalom, friends. Daf Yomi is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we just hit Heartbreak Hill, because now we have to talk about sacrifices. And not the sacrifices of canceling your streaming services for financial responsibility either. No, this is about korbanot, the sacrifices in the Temple of Jerusalem a few thousand years ago. Welcome to Daf Reactions, Zevachim 15. I will always keep it real with you. I'm happy to learn about meal offerings and incense offerings and menorah lighting and all that fun stuff. It's just the concept of animal sacrifice that I'm struggling with, and I'm relieved we don't do them anymore. Maybe this makes me a hypocrite because I'm not a vegetarian, and yet it's how I feel. But if there's one thing I've learned by now, it's that Daf Yomi is not for weak bitches. I'm not going to be a weak bitch. I can't tap out just because the topic makes me oddly nostalgic for the misogyny, comedic gold of tractate Yevamot. I have to do every single page of every single tractate, including this one, no matter what. Will it be easy? No. With other tractates, I could at least relate it in some way to my real lived experience of Judaism. Tractate Brachot is about blessings. I've said blessings. Tractate Shabbat is about Shabbat. I love Shabbat. Who doesn't love Shabbat? Tractate Gittin, about divorce. I am divorced. It's applicable. Yeah, I'll give you that Bava Kama was a bit of a challenge, okay? I will. As I have neither a pit nor an ox fond of goring people. But I do have a Chihuahua pit bull who is a menace, so I was able to use my imagination to make it work. But how on earth can I make it through this topic? I don't love barbecue this much, even though God apparently does. The challenge is set before us. But today's daf at least reminded me of the thing that's going to actually get me through this, and that is outrageous hypotheticals. You guys know how much I love an outrageous hypothetical. Let's do some basic background. There are some key elements to doing korbanot. Doing the sacrifice itself, collecting the blood, bringing the blood to the altar, putting it on the altar. All of these have to be done in very detailed, specific ways by very specific people at very specific times with very specific intent. Otherwise, shit goes sideways and the offering is disqualified. If an unqualified person does the sacrifice, if a qualified person has the wrong intent and does the sacrifice, if someone gets a sacrifice is confuzzled and doesn't know which is for a sin offering and which is for Passover, yeah, there's a lot of room for error. So much room. Today, the sages wonder, what happens if, a klutz drops the blood before it gets to the altar? What if it flowed away because it was on an incline? What if it was, really goopy? Or what if it dripped into a hole in the ground? The Gemara asks, OMG, would somebody really go through all the trouble to teach us these unlikely cases? Girl, yes. Have you met you? If not, I would love to introduce you to a fish and a goat pulling a wagon together. Shortly after the Gemara asks this, fan favorite patron rabbi of outrageous questions, Rabbi Yirmiyah, shows up to do what he does the best. He asks Rabbi Zira, what if a Kohen, the priest, was by the altar with a bird offering? I will call it a burb offering because I want to. He's holding the burb and the blood is falling out, right? But it hasn't touched the altar yet. It's over the altar, but it hasn't touched it yet. Then, out of the blue, he's holding the bird, and the Kohen's hand suddenly gets severed. He can't do the sacrifices without both hands. So is the sacrifice still fine because the blood was already falling into the altar's airspace before somebody came in swinging a lightsaber? It was upon imagining the lightsaber in my mind that I knew that we would be okay. We will get through this tractate. If you're wondering, Rabbi Zira's answer is, no, it's not okay. But that's not the point. I actually do not care at all about that. The point is, thank God for Rabbi Yirmiyah. I love him almost as much as he loves asking ridiculous questions that get him kicked out of the Beit Midrash. I don't care what anyone says. His weirdness will save my sanity, and for that I'm willing to bring an offering.